This video is about reversing double distribution or foiling. You will recall when we distribute two terms like this, we are multiplying the x on the x and the x on the 2. Some call this foiling, but you can also break it apart and see it is double distribution. And when I break apart the other 3, then I also show 3x plus 2. Now those of you that foil then show the same thing as I'm showing here. X squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. The advantage of this step right here is that we are grouping, so that will come in later. But after we get to this point right here, regardless of what method we use, we would combine these two terms and we would get x squared plus 5x plus 6. And this is a trinomial with 3 terms. Today the goal is to take any trinomial and undistribute or factor it back to this form right here. Our first example, we have a common factor of 5 in all 3 terms. And so the first step in factoring anything is to pull out whatever is in common with all the terms involved. So we see that there is a multiple of 5 in each of these terms. So I will factor that 5 out, and it looks like that. Now we're going to focus on the trinomial that is left. For the moment, we will forget about the 5 or just place it off to the side here and pick that up at the end, because I want to focus on these 3 terms. Now, the first question we ask is, what 2 factors of 2, when we multiply them together, we get 2. But if we add them together, we get 3. That's the question. What are the factors of 2 that when we add them together, we get 3? Well, there's only 2 factors of 2, so that's an easy question to answer. And obviously 1 plus 2 do give us the 3. So once we understand that we're going to break apart this 3x into 1 plus 2, we rewrite the 3x's as 1x plus 2x. That sets us up for factoring by grouping, which we've already done. We have 4 terms now, so we group the first 2 terms like that, x squared plus x, and they have a common factor of x. So we factor that out right here, and we're left with x times x plus 1. We have now factored the first 2 terms. The second 2 terms are 2x plus 2, and they have a common factor of 2. So we factor out the 2, and that leaves us 2 times x plus 1. So now we factored by grouping. But you'll notice that here we have x plus 1, and there we have x plus 1. A common factor of x plus 1 can be pulled out. So that's what we do. We pull out the x plus 1, and this term is reconstructed here. So now we have x plus 2 times x plus 1. But wait a minute, don't forget about that 5 we factored out to begin with. So our final answer is that. Our next example also has a common factor of 5 in every term, so we will factor that out immediately. We say we're pulling out the 5, oh, and an x. Then we ask the questions, what two factors of 30 could we add together and get 11? Well, here's the factors of 30, and we see that 6 and 5 added together will give us the 11 x's that we need. So we will break up the 11 x's into 6 x's plus 5 x's. Let's park our 5x factor over here and just focus on this 11 x's, which is now 5 x's plus 6 x's. Then we will group the first two terms. The x squared plus 5x, we factor out the x, which leaves us with x plus 5. Then we factor out the second two terms, and we can pull out a 6 from both. 6 times x plus 5 is the same thing. Now we're ready to pull together the x and the 6 that were distributed on x plus 5. But whoops, don't forget about our 5x that we started with. Our next example also has a common factor of 5. So we can factor out the 5 right away, but then we're going to focus on the 3 terms left. Factor out the 5, we'll just park them over there for now and get back to him later. Here we see we have 12. The factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. We need the sum to be 8. Here is the sum, 6 and 2. So our 8 b's are going to be 6 b's plus 2 b's. There they are, 6 b's plus 2 b's. And then we start grouping. We can group the first two terms and factor out a b right here. That's the first two terms factored out. Then we factor out the second two terms, we can take out a 2. And we're left with b plus 6. Then we take the two b plus 6 terms, and we see they're multiplied. B plus 6 is multiplied by b and by 2, so we get the b plus 2 multiplied on b plus 6. But don't forget the 5. The last example that I have, this time we have a 3 in common with every term. So I factor out the 3, oh, and a k. Take that 3k out first. Park them off to the side, we'll get back to him later. Now we're going to take these 3 terms and factor them. Start with the factors of 30, there they are. Now let's see, we need the factors that add to 13. Let's see, 3 and 10, that works. So we get 3k and 10k. Then we group the first two terms, like that, and the second two terms, like that, and pull out the common factor. Here it's k, and here it's 10. Take the common factor, here it is, and then multiply by k and 10. But don't forget 3k.